Hi, welcome back to my channel Azure Learn. Today's question is something like this. Can I get a physical server in Azure instead of a virtual machine? Most of you might be thinking, why should we think about physical servers when we are going to cloud only for the sake of virtual machines? Yes, there could be some scenarios where some compliance requirements or maybe the kind of control that you are expecting on the server machines that you spin up, you might be in the need of a physical server. So now the question back to square one. Can I get a physical server in Azure instead of a virtual machine? Answer is yes. Yes, there is a feature called Azure Dedicated Host, and this offers you a physical server for your Windows and Linux workloads. Okay, and this server is dedicated to your organization, so that means this capacity is not shared with other customers. And this kind of host level isolation helps you to address compliance requirements, if at all, if any, there to abide by. Okay, and since host is with you, you gain a lot of control over the server infrastructure, and you would be determining the host's maintenance policies and other aspects associated with it. Okay, so now let's have a look how Azure Dedicated Host looks like. What are the components, or how does it actually work? You would have a host group. This host group is nothing but the collection of the hosts, collection of dedicated hosts. So this is very simple to understand. Then what is the host? Host is nothing but the resource which has got a physical server. So that means inside this dedicated host, you would be spinning up the number of VMs that you require, just like how you do it in your on-premise data center. Now if you see what are all the benefits, as we discussed a few of the benefits in the beginning of the discussion itself. Now we would be able to choose the number of processors, the server capabilities, the VM series and VM sizes within the same host, how it's going to be completely orchestrated by you. This dedicated host supports the standard hard disk drives, standard SSDs and premium SSDs. And if you would like to deploy any of these series ranging from DSV3, ESV3, NVSV3, LSV2, MSV2, that means various VM series sizes are supported, which predominantly addresses the memory based or memory intensive workloads, graphics intensive workloads and production friendly workloads and specially designed SAP workloads. And you can also deploy multiple VM sizes within a VM series on the same host. I would explain you going further what does it mean when I say multiple VM sizes within a VM series. Coming to the licensing, how does the licensing work? In case if you have procured Windows Server and SQL Server licenses prior to October 1st, 2019, you can bring those licenses to deploy into this dedicated hosts. So that facility is available. In case if you have purchased them after 1st of 2019, then it has to be active with software assurance. Then only you can bring. Okay, so this is one condition. And whatever the benefits that you have for reserved instance and then Azure hybrid benefit, all of them you can avail. How does the billing goes for this? Next question. It is on pay as you go mode and it is charged for every hour, and it's entirely paid for the host regardless of the number of VM instances that you are running on that host. And coming to the software licenses which you are running within those VMs, that is charged separately. Can I mix multiple instances sizes on a single Azure dedicated host? This is where I was referring you some time back. If you would like to host a D series VM, E series VM and F series VM, all three put together in a dedicated host, you would not be able to do that. However, you can mix the same D series different size VMs, DS, D2S V3, D16 V3, something like. In case if you are thinking, how do I get a high availability option for this? Yes, for a dedicated host, if you are looking for the high availability option, you will have to spin up parallelly one more dedicated host. So minimum 2 sets of dedicated hosts would help you to have high availability. Now have a look on the sample combinations of how the dedicated host SKUs can bear different VM sizes. In the sample combination here, I have highlighted 16 D2S VMs plus 8 D4S VMs. So that means 16 2-core VMs plus 8 4-core VMs. Or in another combination, 4 2-core VMs and 4 4-core VMs and 5 8-core VMs. So that means it depends on the maximum number of virtual cores available in that host which you are taking, DSV3. So maximum number, within that you can have any number of combination here. ESV3, what is the maximum number of codes? Within that number of codes you can have any number of combination of E series VMs. So that's how it is going to be. Now the question comes on, how do you license for SQL Server? For SQL Server running, two options are there for you. One is that SQL VM licensing, which is even now also there. Whichever the VM you run SQL Server, you try to license only that VM and then start using it. The other one is dedicated host licensing. That means you are trying to get the license deployed at host level. And why do you do that? That is to have unlimited virtualization. SQL Server Enterprise Edition, if you have with SCA, you can take and deploy it to dedicated host so that you can enjoy unlimited virtualization. That is up to the max virtual CPUs supported by that host. If you are having SQL Server licenses acquired before October 1st, SQL Server Enterprise Edition, you can have either at host level or VM level. Choice is yours. SQL Server Standard Edition, if you have, you can have it deployed only at a VM level, not at the host level. So this is how you can have SQL Server licensing on the dedicated host. Now let's check on pricing once. Please observe the Azure Dedicated Host pricing details, and here DSV3 Type 1 SKU, which is having 64 vCPUs and available RAM in it is 256 gig, and this is the processing power. And on pay as you go mode, when you opt to go for this dedicated host, it would cost you around in Indian rupees approximately 1,71,000. And if you are trying to have it on reserved mode, that is 1 year reserved instance for the same, it would come for 1,01,000 approximately. That means 41% you have approximate savings, and for a 3-year reserved instance you have up to 62% savings, and which would come down, the cost would come down to 65,000 per month. So this is a per month cost we are trying to check, and if you would like to have a look at the per hour cost also, it is possible. You can check it on the per hour cost also. I am switching it back to per month cost, and like this, whichever the SKU that you would like to check, DSV3 Type 2, DSV4 Type 1, ESV3 Type 1, you have the prices mentioned here. Have a look, and whichever the VM series or this dedicated host SKUs not available in India, it is mentioned that it's not available. Okay, and you might be thinking how the software licenses charged. When we discussed that software licenses are going to be charged separately, what is that cost going to be? Yes, in case if you do not have licenses with software assurance which are purchased after October 1st 2019, then the option is to go with the software licenses being charged separately here in the Azure. So those charges would be, let us say if I would like to select Windows operating system. Windows operating system for 2 vCPU license, it would cost me this, and for 4 vCPU this. You can have a look what are all the prices that's been given like this. And let us say if you are trying to take the Red Hat Enterprise Linux for SAP HANA, that would be costing you approximately like this. And coming to the SQL Server, let us say SQL Server, if you are trying to mount it on Linux, and Linux SQL Server Linux Standard Edition would cost you this much, and SQL Server on a Linux, the Web Edition would cost you this much. Or let us say Ubuntu Advantage SQL Server Web, if you would like to take it, this would cost you this much. And Ubuntu Advantage, this would cost you for Essential, Standard and Advanced variants, this would be the costs respectively. Okay, and if you, in case if you are wondering, the same series of VM with the different sizes that I was referring, you can have a look here. This is DS-V3 Type 1 SKU. Available physical cores are 40, available virtual CPUs are 64. So that means max virtual cores are 64. Till this you can spin up the VMs, number of VMs that is required. You see here 2 core VM 32 in number you can spin up, or 4 core VM 16 quantity you can spin up, or 8 core VM 8 quantity you can spin up. Like this you can have either 64 core VM 1 quantity. So like this you can have a look on the number of VMs that you can have of the same series but of different sizes. The combinations choice is yours, like as we discussed. So the combination can be like this: the D series VMs of different sizes, E series VMs of different sizes. So all this is possible. So this is what I thought of explaining you about the dedicated hosts in Azure. So that means in case if you are thinking to get a physical server to have the complete control on the maintenance and other policies while being in Azure, yes, there is an option, that is Azure Dedicated Host is available, and this dedicated host you are going to pay at the host level irrespective of the number of VMs being spinned inside, and the software being used inside those VMs are charged separately, and this is available on per hour billing basis. And you can even have 1 year reserved instance and 3 year reserved instance also. You can have any of the workloads which are memory intensive, or even the graphic intensive, or any of the production friendly workloads that you would like to offload it to Azure. In Azure Dedicated Host you can make use of this. Hope this session was helpful in understanding the dedicated host in Azure. If you have liked this video, then click on like and share, and then subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for upcoming videos. Till then, thank you, good day, bye bye.